You don't have to travel far to find historic churches such as St Mary the Virgin here at Weston on Trent. It's easy to just drive past, but I love walking around them. They have wonderful architecture, gargoyles designed to take water away from the buildings, grotesques, some funny, some rude, and some just scary. I've invited along Alison Fern, an archaeologist and researcher in protective markings, to talk to us about two other things that can be found: symbolism on gravestones and historic graffiti. So Alison, what can you tell me about this lovely church?
This is a wonderful church that's dedicated to St Mary the Virgin. The majority of the church was built in the 13th century, although the chancel probably dates from the 12th century. There's a little bit that's a little bit older, but in general we're seeing a 12th century church. Inside there's some really interesting features. There's a tomb which has some really nice memento mori, which is a skull and crossbones and a figure of death. And these are really common motifs that look really bizarre to us today, but just to emphasise the fragility of life. There's a font which dates to about the middle of the 17th century.
I've noticed that there are lots of letters and symbols engraved on the walls inside this porch, and I know that you're probably the best person I could be asking to come and have a look and explain what they might be and what they were probably used for. Do you want to come and have a look?
Yes, I'd love to.
I can see sort of an M shape there. What does that mean?
We've got two of these in the porchway. There's one just here. This shape here is known as a double M, and they're commonly associated with the Virgin Mary. And as this church is dedicated to St Mary the Virgin, it makes perfect sense to find them here. They're also found in domestic buildings and homes as well, but they are heavily associated with the cult of the Virgin, and they're just really nice marks to find. We also get another form, which is the other way round, so you get what we call a conjoined V. They're also a symbol of the Virgin and stands, not surprisingly, for Virgo Virginum, Virgin of Virgins. The M, we think, stands for Mother of Mercies, or in Latin, that's Mater Misericordiae. And they're just a beautiful thing to find, and nice that we've got them in this porch as well.
I can see some hands there, and they are my favourite symbols. Do you know any more about those?
They're one of the symbols that actually we think are a little bit enigmatic. We don't know why people made them, but they're quite common, again, in churches, and also we get footprints as well, although there aren't any footprints here. But the particularly nice thing about these ones is one looks like a little child's handprint because it's tiny, and then the one above it is adult size.
Yeah, it looks like a glove, doesn't it?
Almost. And the other things that we have on here as well, we've got quite a lot of name and date graffiti. So as you'd probably expect, there's a nice one just up here, and there's one further along on the beam just here, where the name's been put inside a cartouche. I've had a little look as well, and I think the earliest date that we can find is one right at the top here, which says 1648.
I noticed there's, it looks like a figure up there, and you can't really see it very well in this light, but it's sometimes better, isn't it, if people wanted to look for them, if they bought a torch?
Yes, just a cheap LED torch will show you most of the graffiti that you need to find. This one doesn't show up that well even with a torch, but if we had a little look at it, and what it seems to be is a female figure, and you can see the shape of her costume and her arms coming round. So she's actually a really nice find in here.
I can see as well something that looks a bit hidden in the plaster there, like a circle.
This one here, daisy wheels are often referred to, or compass drawn circles, and they're normally a circle that's subdivided into many petals, and this appears to be on older plaster as it's hidden behind some of this fronting plaster here. And I suspect that given this is a porchway and is much newer than the original church, that what we might have here is a consecration cross, because it looks as though you could fit 4 petals inside that circle, which would be absolutely fitting with a consecration cross. And it would say that this porch had also been dedicated to God as part of the architecture.
I've noticed that some gravestones have not just the names of who they're dedicated to, but lots of symbolism on them. Can you explain what that might mean and what people could look for?
Yeah, sure, we'll go across and have a look at some of the ones that we find here in the churchyard.
Great.
This little slate gravestone's rather nice. It's got two skulls. These are two lovely motifs that are quite common in 18th century graves. They're known as memento mori, and you can see they're two quite cheerful little skulls. They're inscribed on local slate, I think, and also we've got two pillars that are beautifully carved here. These often symbolise the head of the household or somebody who had been quite important in life. Also, on either side there are two lovely floral motifs. They look a bit like forget-me-nots, but I'm not sure entirely what they are. This is a beautifully carved gravestone, and again there's some common motifs on here. This one is the acanthus leaf, which symbolised a rough journey through life and difficulties, but also gave hope that there will be eternal life and immortality. And it's a similar motif to this beautifully carved hourglass shape here. And this basically just represents how short life is and how transient it is. And I don't know if you can see, but just around here, circling it, is what's called an Ouroboros, which is a snake swallowing its own tail. And again, it's another one of these symbols that represents immortality.
So next time you see an old church, why not stop and have a look what you can find? Maybe you could make it a treasure hunt for your children.